Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, let's deep dive into the world of BOM, which is Bill of Materials and subcontracting. Let's get ready for an insightful journey as we unravel the intricacies within SAP. So let's start.
Subcontracting is, as I had told that, for example, we are producing a good. We have given the contract to a subcontractor, okay, to produce something. So I give some raw material. I do not have the infrastructure to build that semi-finished product. So I give it to another vendor. They will produce that semi-finished product to me, and I will then use in my production line. This is the parent material, okay. So one is the parent material, okay, and these two maybe summarize. And these are two components. So this is a paired material, these are components. So to produce this part, okay, I need two material. So this is maybe a finished good, okay, and these are semi-finished, okay. Semi-finished is one quantity, okay, one quantity maybe, and there is another. Okay, so to produce this finished good, okay, I need one quantity of this semi-finished material and one quantity of this semi-finished product. These two will go into production and will make this good, this part. There can be several components. There can be 5, 6, 7, 8 components with different quantities. This is the concept of BOM. If you talk about what is a BOM, so in the BOM we have a finished part which is inside a plant, okay. So we basically are producing this finished part, okay, and for making this part, simply in layman's term, to make this part I need multiple components, okay. It can be multiple, it can be 1, 2, it can be 50, okay, with different quantities. So these products are inside my store, okay. So I will issue it, I will issue. So for this there would be a production order, okay. For producing this material, there will be a production order, okay. So in this production order, I will issue these materials. So whatever materials are required, I will do a goods issue for this production order. So there is a movement type for issuing these goods for this production order, okay. And once that is issued, the production people will produce it, and this part will be generated. This part is made. Now here also, like, there can be subdivision. If I take like one part here, now I can have like here if I do okay. So for producing a semi-finished part, there can be raw material, okay. Okay. So maybe raw material of say 5 quantity, okay, and raw material of say 7 quantity. Okay. So to produce this semi-finished part, okay, which is required for this production, okay. So you understand. So for this part, I need two materials, okay, two semi-finished materials, okay. But this semi-finished material will be produced when I put inside two raw materials. So if I put 5 quantity of this raw material and 5 quantity of 7 raw material, if I produce them, okay, in production line, if I, so these are again components, okay. So to produce this semi-finished quantity, these are the components that is required. So if I do not have these two, I cannot make this one. So I have to produce, in the production line, I need these two materials to produce this, okay. And once this is done, this will go into this line, okay. So a BOM, so this will be a separate BOM, okay. So this will be a separate BOM, which is where this is the parent material, and for here also this is another separate BOM which is for this finished material. Okay, so this BOM will have these two components, this BOM will have these two components. Okay, so I will show it in the screen later, maybe once we do the do the integration part. For example, I am making this part in my store. I have a production house. I
Hmm.
produce this part. Now for producing this part, these are the two components that is required. So one quantity of this
Yeah.
semi-finished material and one quantity of this semi-finished material. Okay. I have this part in my store, but this part is not there in my store. Either I can procure it from a vendor. If I need this
Yeah.
part, either I can procure it from a vendor, or I will give it to a subcontractor. So subcontracting comes here. Contracting comes here. It's a very basic thing. Okay, so for subcontracting, I okay. For example, in my store, I have this material, and this material. So these three materials are in my store. Okay,
Okay.
produce this part, I need this and this, but I do not have infrastructure to produce this. So to produce this part which is required here, okay, to produce this part, which is required here, I give it to a subcontracting vendor. Okay, so
Yeah.
this vendor has the facility to produce this part. And for example, these two raw materials are with me. So what I will do, I will issue raw material 5 and raw material 7 to this subcontractor, and he
Yeah.
will produce this part for me. I might have some, so this is a normal scenario. I might not have all the raw material. If, for
Okay.
example, if I have some raw materials which are required to produce this, then I can supply this to this vendor, and he will produce, he will, make use of these two materials and produce this part, and this part will come to me here. So he will again, ship the part to me, this part, and again I will put it here, you know, as a component. So this will act as a component, and this finished part will be produced. So these two materials. So for if, for example, I have this in my store, so I can issue this to the subcontractor. So subcontractor has this part, but he doesn't have this part maybe. So a scenario, a normal scenario. So I
Yeah.
can issue this part. I have, SAP. I can issue parts to the subcontractor. So I will issue this part. So he will, take, because this material is already available to him. So he will take this part from me and this part from his store, and
Yeah.
make this part. Okay, and then he will
Okay.
ship it to me. Okay, I will do a good receipt for this material. Okay,
Yeah.
and this material will come here to produce this part. Here in this bomb, like this can be a raw material also, like RM01. Okay, and it can be raw material as RM02 maybe. So a finished
Okay.
part can have semi-finished and raw materials both as components. Okay, as components, a finished part can have multiple semi-finished products, multiple raw materials. Okay, so both
Okay.
all this will, inside the production line, these all will be available at different sections to produce that part. Okay, like for
Okay.
anything, for car manufacturer, or um, a motorcycle manufacturer, there are different parts, called assembly parts. Okay, so we have this bonnet, we have the seat cover, we have the engine. So all these are components to make this motorcycle. So motorcycle is the finished part, and various other small spare parts, small components are here. So it can be semi-finished as well, it can be finished as well. Sorry,
Yes.
raw
Yeah.
as well. So
Okay.
all these are produced inside the production line to make this finished part. Okay. So this is a sub part. So this is not a finished but a semi-finished part, which will come here to make this final product. For this, I can have a separate BOM. Okay. I can have this in
Yeah.
my facility also. For example, I have these two raw materials and I have the facility to produce this part. So I will produce this part. I will put these two raw materials for my production order. So this production order, there can be a production order here as well. Okay, in my store itself. So I will make a production order in my store for this part, for producing this part, and I will have this component. So there would be a BOM. This would be a part of the BOM, and for this, and for production, I would have a production order in my system. I will create a PO, production order with for this material, and I will issue these goods because this is already in my store. I will issue it to this production order, and our production team will produce this part, and this part again will come here to make this final part. And this part, for example, if it is not with me, for example, I do not have the infrastructure or I do not have the facility to produce this part, I can give it to a subcontractor. Okay. And
Yeah.
maybe if I have materials, maybe I have raw materials, but I do not have say this material. Maybe I have this
Yeah.
material, but I do not have this material. So I give it to subcontractor who has this material. He will take this from his store and this one from my store and produce it to make this part, and it will come to me. In my store, if I have the production facility to manufacture this part, I do not
Yeah.
have to go for a subcontractor. For example, I have the material, but I do not have the structure to make this part. Then I have to go for a
Yeah.
subcontractor. It's based on my setup. Whatever setup I have. Suppose I have raw materials with me, but I don't have the production setup. So I will give it to a subcontractor. So he will make it
Yeah.
for me. Okay. If I have all the infrastructure here, I can make it myself. Okay, in my store. So both will be in my store. This finished part will be also in my store, and this semi-finished part will also be in my store.
Now let us look at how to execute the subcontracting process in SAP. So the first step, as you see on the screen, is a prerequisite, and it is to be done in the material master. So in the material master MRP2 tab, we need to set the special procurement type to subcontracting. Now this step is optional. You can also choose not to execute as well. The next is another prerequisite, which is the creation of subcontracting info record via ME11. The third step is the creation of BOM for the PO material. So the PO material would be the parent, and we would have to add all the components as child in the BOM. Now as per the process, we can take a semi-finished or finished material which has the bill of material. The fourth step is to create a subcontracting PO with item category L via ME21N, which is the PO creation T code. Next, we use ME20 or MIGO, and then we choose transfer posting other, and then we have to give the movement type 541 plus O, and we issue the goods to subcontracting stock to provide stock of material to the vendor. Now after the material has been produced by the subcontractor, he would send it to us, and after it has been received in our premise, we would have to do the GR via MIGO. The movement type is 101, which denotes the received assembly materials, and there would be a movement type 543 plus O, which assigns the actual consumption of components by the vendor. Now let us look at the accounting entries after the subcontracting process is done. So if you have a price control V, that is moving average price, and the component cost is 100 rupees, and the subcontracting charge is 40 rupees. So the BSX, which is the stock account of assembly, is debited by 140. The BSV, which is the change in subcontracting stock, is credited by 140. We have the subcontracting charges, that is FRL, which would have a debit of 40. We have the WRX, which is the GRIR clearing account, which is credited by 40. Then we have the stock account of components, that is BSX, which would be a credit of 100. And then we have the GBB VBO, which is the consumption account for components, which would be a debit of 100. Now when we do the invoice receipt, the vendor account, that is KBS, would be credited by 40, and the GRIR clearing account, that is WRX, would be debited by 40. So in the next video, we will be going into the SAP screen, and we would execute the whole end-to-end subcontracting process. So that is all in this video. If you got value from this video, do like, comment and share with your friends. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or feedback, share them in the comment section below. Till we meet again next time, you all take care and goodbye.